Hello, this is the second video tutorial covering Chapter 2 in the EViews Illustrated textbook. And we're picking up where we left off in video 1, which is in the section entitled Identity Non-Crisis. Right? And we're working with some familiar data. This is the academic salary file, okay, that we've seen before. And I've selected discipline and salary, and we're taking a look at it here. And what I wanted to point out is that we have a column for observations. Okay, so the normal file setup assigns an observation number to each item. Okay, and in this case, that's not really helpful or not applicable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my structure. Okay, and so what I can do is I'm going to go ahead and double click on range. Okay, and notice it's unstructured, undated. What I want to do is I want to come down here and say it is undated with an ID series. Okay, and I put in here that we're going to use the discipline as our identifier. All right, now say OK. And now if we take a look at what we've got here, we'll see some changes. Okay, we will see that the observation, right, is now the discipline rather than a number. So I don't even need to select the discipline in this case. And I'm just going to go ahead, click on the top of the column and go ahead and say remove series. All right, so all I need to do really in this case then is to select the salary, and it'll get the information that I'm looking for. All right. Let's move on then to a couple other tools. Oh, before I go, if we needed to have some more space, for instance, our field wasn't wide enough and it looks like it's not wide enough to include everything, I could go ahead and click on the top right of the column and expand it, and that will give us enough space to have everything show up. Okay, and so that happens quite often. Just be familiar with that. All right. Next, we're going to go ahead and we're going to create a couple of new work files, which we have never done yet. So we close out of here, and okay, I'm going to go to File, New, and Work File. Okay, and notice the first screen that pops up here is the structure of our work file. Okay, and its regular frequency is the default, and in this case, annual is what it's showing. We're going to start with. Okay, and the first file we're going to do is annual. We're going to do annual file for some data covering the Roosevelt years, Franklin Roosevelt years. Okay, and so we're going to have a start date of 1933, and we're going to run until 1945. All right, and if we wanted to save this work file, we could give it a name. This is just for demonstration purposes, so I'm not going to worry about that. Okay, now go ahead and say OK. All right, so notice now we have a work file set up, right, with the range 13 observations, and they're annual. Okay, let's say we wanted to set one up a little bit differently. Okay, so if we were to create a new work file, okay, and in this case we want quarterly data, right? So I'm going to come down here and select quarterly, and what we're going to set this one up for is quarterly macroeconomic data for the United States, and it's going to start in 1947 Q1, and it is going to run until 2004 Q4. All right, and we can open that up. Okay, now notice, same thing, we set up a new work file. It's got quarterly observations. There are 232 altogether. Well, there are no observations in there, but we could add those later. Okay, and we will see in the later section how you can bring data in to a setup work file. Okay. All right, let's move on. I want to take a look at a new work file. Okay, and we're going to take a look specifically at the file called Russell 3000 regular, and I've had this one up before and looked at it, so I'm going to go down here to my recent files, take a look. Okay, notice it's telling us it's too large for the student version of the software. This is Russell 3000 stock prices opening and closing, so it's got many observations. Okay, and you can look, it runs from 1987 to 2005, so we've got 4,500 plus observations. Okay, and I'm going to say okay because we're not going to be able to work with all of those in this limited version of the software. Okay. All right, so first thing I want to do is I want to select trade date and opening and closing. And let's go ahead and take a look at that group. Okay, so we've got observations are given a date, we've got trade date, open and close. All right, let's do this. Let's scroll down. Okay, the data looks pretty clean. Okay, until we get down here to November 26th, which is Thanksgiving, and there's no trading on that day. Okay, and so it's filled in automatically with NA, and that is going to present a bit of a problem. So we need to clean this up a bit. All right, and what we're going to do is we're going to go back into the range and restructure our work file. Okay, last time I showed you how to get there from the range. This time we're going to take a look at the PROC dropdown. Okay, and there we have it. It is regular frequency. Okay, now in this case we need to change that. Okay, because not all, it's set up as 5 days, but some weekdays we didn't trade because of holidays. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and call this dated specified by date series. And so we have, it's going to be an auto detect. We start with the beginning of the data, first number, and we end with the last. Now the date series that we're looking at is not date ID, it is trade day. Right, that's the one that's got our dates in there. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and say okay. All right, it tells us that it removed a bunch of the observations that had NA in there, and that's fine. All right, so now we're a smaller range. You can notice also that we have a notification here that said it's irregular dating. Okay, so let's do this. Let's go back. Let's take a look at trade date. Oh, actually, we've got them all selected. Trade date, open and close, and we will open that up. And if we scroll down to November 26th, we'll see that, look, now it's no longer there. Okay, there's the 25th and then the 27th. So it's recognized that that's, it's not a 5-day calendar like it had been before, but it's only looking at specified dates. All right. So that's the end of this video tutorial. In the next one, we're going to deal with importing data. Okay, the files we've looked at so far have all been prepared, all put together. We're going to start off by taking a look at how you would go about bringing data into a work file. Okay, so that's the end of this.